Happy New Year. You know, it's good to see everybody, and I hope Santa made a visit, or, you had some good potato luckies. But it's good to see everybody. I just want to open with a couple of thoughts to get us going, okay? We're headed in the right direction. I really believe that. We've had a year. We've done a lot of different types of things. Obviously, we've done a pretty extensive overhaul with the roster. We talked about, we consistently talked about culture and building a winning culture. And again, it's a team that had to learn how to win again. So I feel really good about the foundation that we've started to lay. Not happy with 5-11, nobody is. But I feel good about where we're headed. You know, there's 8 franchises right now looking for head coaches, and the common theme coming out of them was they need to get in the right direction. Well, I feel very strongly and very good about it, and it's easy for me to say it to you people that we are headed in the right direction. As far as the team's concerned, I've told you guys this, and I mean it. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I don't ask myself the question: Have me and the personnel people given Pat and the coaches enough players to win with? I ask that question of myself all the time, because roster building is a 12-month deal. You don't just, the season doesn't begin and this is the 53 and this is the 10 guys on a practice squad and away we go. And so you have to constantly evaluate what you're doing. So like I said, roster building is a 12-month season, and I'm very conscious of that. Like I said, we had a significant overhaul this year. By the end, I think we had on the varsity, we had like 13 guys with that had an NY on their lid last year. That's it. That's a pretty extensive overhaul. And not every move's going to work out. Oh, by the way, as we've seen. But at the other part of it is you've seen that if it's not working, we're not. I don't believe. I believe in that definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's true. So you've also seen that we make a decision, it's not working, we will make a change. So again, we still have roster work to do. I'm not going to deny that for a moment. And then the last thing I want to talk about, before I take your questions, just to get it out there, just so you guys understand. Is everybody else's phones off? Okay. Eli and I had a very extensive conversation on Monday. No holds barred. He took me in the low post and won, but the bottom line is it was a very honest and upfront conversation. I'll keep what was said private between he and I, but in terms of any question you're going to ask me today, okay, just so you understand, we will do what's in the best interest of the New York Football Giants. That's the way we've operated since I walked in the door, and that's the way we will continue to operate. What we're trying to do here is build sustained success. And that takes some brutal honesty, and it takes some tough decisions. Okay? So, and then finally, just as a quick reminder, don't ask me about contracts. Don't ask me about negotiations. Don't ask me about any of that stuff, because I'm just not going to respond. Okay? All right, let the games begin.
Dave, how do you evaluate the quarterback position when you look at a 1-7 start to the season and then 4 wins over the second half of the year, 3 of which against backup quarterbacks, when Eli seemed to play better, but the pressure was essentially off at that point after the 1-7 start? How do you weigh those?
Well, first of all, okay, I don't want to hear about backup quarterbacks. We played backup quarterbacks. We went 4-4 in the second half. Here's what I would say to you, okay? When you have when you're bringing in installing a new offense, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks before everybody's really on the same page, and it's really the outliers. It's 6. Hey, Gary, how you doing? I didn't see you. It's going to be the outside is 6. We were having O-line issues, weren't we? Okay, in that first half, we made changes, and I think that's part of it. That you've got a comfort factor in terms of you're on the same page. The offense is on the same page, and you've also got a comfort factor in that the O-line, getting in Jamon, putting Chad out there, claiming Jamon, and Jamon came in at the bye. That's when we got him. So doing those kinds of things that settled everything down. Those two, the combination of those two, and I think that's the reason that the offense started to click. I almost fell down when they told me we scored more points than anybody else in the division, which kind of blew my mind. I mean, somebody swore they swore to it, so I hope I'm not lying to you. It's the distance that the offense came from week 1 to week 16. You think of the points. What the backup quarterback that we played against, for example, in Chicago, he didn't play defense. Okay, and the other back, the Washington, those guys weren't on the defense; they were on the offense. So you asked me an offensive question. Okay, so at the end of the day, between the fact that they were able to get comfortable with each other and we settled the offensive line down, we scored points. I mean, guys, it was. I saw a graphic. I think we averaged 27 to 28 points a game at the last half of the year, something like that. I don't know, but so does that answer your question? Is that fair? I want to be fair. I want to be me. Anybody else? Okay. I'm sorry, Jordan.
Are you committed to having Eli back next year?
Jordan, here's what I'm committed to do. I'm committed to making the best decision in the interest of the New York Football Giants. That's what I'm committed to do. We're in the evaluation process. Okay, I know that you guys want answers now, but very frankly, I didn't come in yesterday. So I've got to do what I do, which is get in my office and watch film. We will meet we're going to meet this week with the coaches and get their evaluations. We'll meet next week with pro personnel and get their evaluations. And, get their, feelings on everything. That's our schedule. And I will be watching film for the next who knows how long till my eyes bleed. All right, that's what I do. So my commitment is to make this team the best team it can be. And if that happens to have Eli playing quarterback, it does.
Why do you feel good about the foundation? Why do you feel good about this team, though?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you this. And I know that I said this before when we had our little fireside chats during the season, and you guys looked at me like I was a little off. Okay? I feel good because, number one, winning in the NFL is not easy. It's hard. Winning a game in the NFL is hard. If anybody tells you any difference, they've never played, they don't know the game. It's very difficult. To go 1-7 for the first half of the year and to lose a number of close games, I think we tied for the league lead with 12 games decided by a touchdown or less. And it would have been 13 if the Saints didn't score that late touchdown. So to lose games like that, be 1-7, and to have the types of practices we were having, where there was focus, there was energy, there were, things were getting accomplished, and the proof was in the pudding by what we did in the last 8 games. That's what encourages me, Barry. That's why I think the foundation is right. You didn't have any of the crap going on in the locker room that happened last year. There is nobody in this room that can argue with me on one point. This team did not quit. It was competitive as hell. And that's the start.
Dave, you said you almost fell down when someone told you, you led the division in points. Did you almost fall down when someone told you that you gave up the most points?
No.
So that was evident to you.
What's it? Well, that's why you're 5-11.
You think the main reason 5-11 is?
Well, I think we've got to continue to improve. We've got to continue to improve. We had, it's tough it's not easy to win games when you don't have playmakers. We need to improve the defense, guys. Just like I looked you right in the eye last year and told you we got to fix this O-line. We've got to get better on the defensive side.
Dave, you inherited.
I'm sorry.
You inherited 2 big contracts with Olivier Vernon and Janoris Jenkins. How would you evaluate those 2, the way they played this year and moving forward?
What I'm going to tell you is I haven't. This is what I'm going to do the next 2 weeks. My personal feeling is the biggest mistakes are made when you're emotional. And when the season ends, you're emotional and you're mentally cooked. So until I start watching the film, which is going to start today, I really can't, answer that question. It's not fair.
When you look at the moves you made last offseason, do you think you misjudged how close this team was to being competitive?
I didn't misjudge it at all because, people, that's been asked before, and I've thought about that. I had no illusions of what we were. None. You tell me why you think I misjudged it.
Well, I guess just if you're going to be a rebuilding process, you bring back you don't draft a quarterback, you give up a draft pick for Ogletree, you bring in older veteran free agents, and those types of things.
Well, you got to start somewhere. But by the end of the year, we had one of the youngest teams in the league. So, listen. Nobody likes losing. Nobody. Anybody in here like losing? You want to raise your hands? Nobody likes to lose. Okay? So what you have to do when you come in is you evaluate what you have, and you say to yourself, remember, I've told you guys, I'm on that tightrope. And me and a 2-2 on a tightrope ain't pretty. Okay? But it's the tightrope of you want to win now, you want to get those wins now, because you got a coaching staff whose fannies are on the line every Sunday, and you want to set the team up, the franchise up for sustained success. So, we sat back, we made the decisions we made last year, and here we are. And there's some good stuff, and there's some stuff we got to fix.
Dave, I understand what you're saying about not wanting to commit to, not wanting to make judgments about players without looking at film. Last year at this time, though, you were very committed to Eli Manning. You said that what you saw late in the season wasn't a mirage. I'm just curious, is there a chance that there will be another starting quarterback start next season for the New York Giants?
Listen, there's a chance you and I are going to get hit by a bus, Steve. It's. We're going to do what's in the best interest. We're going to look at film. We're going to evaluate everything. Everything's on the table for us. Everything is on the table for us. Okay?
Do you have to reevaluate your evaluation process when you look back at the evaluation process that led you to Jonathan Stewart and Patrick Omame? Do you have to do some self-scouting and maybe go into this offseason a little differently than how you might have viewed?
We'll go into this season differently because we have different issues. Okay? One of the biggest issues we had last year that we had to fix was what? The locker room. And both Jonathan Stewart and Patrick Omame are true professionals. And they were brought here for a specific purpose besides they were brought here, for other reasons than they're playing. Okay, so just understand that. We feel like we've turned that corner, and especially with this rookie class. Saquon's unique. Okay, I stood up here and you guys watched me drool all over myself in the pre-draft. Right, Paul? It was pretty. Well, it was ugly, wasn't it? Well, things happen. I should have worn a bib from Joe Stonecrap. Okay? My point is, he's unique and he's special. And so isn't Will Hernandez and BJ and Lorenzo And RJ's still growing up, physically. Kyle's, in a different position a different spot because of the quarterback position, but this is all part of the process. We'll continue to vet guys out. We're only going to bring quality people in here that hate to lose. So that'll stay the same. So obviously different. We're different from we were 12 months ago. We're in a different place. So we'll do things, we'll approach things somewhat differently.
When you evaluate Eli Manning, Dave,
Oh, I'm sorry.
last year when you evaluated Eli Manning, you hadn't seen him play throughout the season.
Right.
So you had to rely on the film. You've seen him take every snap this season. You've seen him in practices. Why do you need to go back to the film to form an opinion on what you just saw over the last 4 or 5 months?
I always want to be right. Tom, it's you always want to be, you always want to have your whole card. And that's me. That's just my nature. I'm a film junkie. And there are things that I'll remember that happened that, oh my gosh, that's me. And understand this. And I think I've said this to you guys before. I am very intentional about how I operate. Very intentional. Methodical. Some people call me an altacaca, whatever you want to say, but that's just the way I am. I've been that way my whole career in the NFL. Very methodical about film watching and thinking about things and making decisions. I'm very intentional. That's why I say, yes, I watched every snap, but I want to watch the film and I want to have time to breathe.
You said that you and Eli.
I'm sorry, Patty.
When you go back and you do this evaluation, obviously, you got guys like Eli Manning who have been playing 15 years. You got some other guys who have been playing a couple years. When you do your evaluation and base it on everything, are you looking ahead or are you looking back at the entire body of work in terms of what they've done in the past, injury history and all that stuff?
No, you turn around, obviously it's different. When you're looking at older players, you're looking early, middle, and late, did they fade? When you're looking at younger guys, you're looking for early, middle, and late, did they improve? That's what you're looking for. So it is a little different. I remembered, okay, I'm really going to date myself. Back in 2000 when we brought in those 3 offensive linemen, Lomas, Brown, and Glenn Parker and Dusty, I looked at, the big question for me on Lomas was what was he playing like in December? Because Lomas was, Lomas was long and lean. He wasn't a power player. He was an athlete. He was an athletic tackle. So that's what, so I wanted to see, is Lomas the same player in December that he was in September? So when you got older guys, you got to do that. You got to see if they're fading on you. So that's why, Tom, I will look and look and look and look until I have the puffs of white smoke coming out of my ears or my head or whatever.
Pat Shurmur has, to us anyway, has been very supportive of Eli, saying he thinks he's got years left, leadership, experience, makes the throws, all that stuff, and pointed out that in the last 8 games, the offense scored a lot of points with Eli. How much will you take that into your evaluation of Eli, that the head coach seemingly wants this guy back?
It's part of it. This is not a dictator. I'm a big believer in collaboration. I'm not a dictator. I'm not. These are conversations, that you're going to have, with Pat. That's why I say we're going to hear the coaches, what they have to say. We're going to talk to the pro guys, what do they have to say? And then I'll get my work done, and then we'll get together and formulate a plan. But obviously it's part of it, Paul. You can't, Pat's had a lot of success with quarterbacks, so I'm certainly going to listen.
When you and Eli had that conversation.
I'm sorry?
When you and Eli had that conversation Monday, did the two of you come to conclusions, or did you leave it as the fluid situation that you're portraying it to us?
I'm leaving it. We left it at that. We had a great conversation. He's a mensch.
When you watch this team on Sundays, and I know you want to watch the film, but when you've watched this team every Sunday, what is your evaluation of your offense with and without Odell? What difference is that?
Oh, so he didn't play the last 4 games, right? Listen, you can't. the bottom line is, he's a, you want him on the field. I have this crazy idea that, he's a great player, so let's get him on the field. But unfortunately, he got the leg whip, and those calves can be funny things. They really can. So, the offense did what it did with him, and it did what it did without him.
As good as Barkley was this year.
Good.
When you guys obviously made a huge financial commitment to Odell Beckham just a few months ago, are you committed to him being here in 2019, or are you open to trade ideas or anything with him as well?
We didn't sign him to trade him, if that's what you're asking me.
So he'll be here.
You heard what I said.
Dave, so a year ago, you stood there and it left very little doubt that you were committed to Eli. I mean, you were very strong about that. And Pat was a couple of weeks later at his press conference. Today, you're saying you're going to do what's in the best interest of the Giants. Does that indicate a change in your feeling and commitment to Eli?
No, it isn't. Gary, it's funny. Last year, that was the question. That was the question. But it was, if you think about it, okay, the guy was running for his life last year. Okay, this year we calmed it down. Once we got rolling, once everybody got comfortable with the offense, I mean, Eli had, if you're going to look at stats, it wasn't too shabby what he did. Obviously we want to win more games, and we've got to continue to improve the roster.
How did he look to you in December?
In December, I don't know. We scored 36, scored 35, 27, scored 40. How's that look? He still can make the NFL throws. You know what I'm saying? Steve, he can still make NFL throws. He still got it. That part of it.
What to you would be the ideal scenario at quarterback going into next season? Would it be Eli and a first-round pick, Eli and bring in another young player, Eli and a veteran free agent, or just turn the page?
Gary, I can't answer that question because I don't know what the field. I don't know what the field is right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the field is.
How about this? How important is it for you to address the quarterback of the future of this team this offseason? Is that a priority, or is that something that you think
you can't? Let me tell you something, Jordan. Okay, if you make something a priority, you will make a mistake. It's got to be within the flow of what you're doing. You can't force it, especially a quarterback. That's why you guys look, the guys in Carolina looked at me like I was out of my mind. You guys have looked at me. You get in the draft, you're taking the best player. You're not taking, I need so I'm taking No, you do that, you're going to make a mistake, you're going to screw it up. You're going to screw it up.
The Giants have had one winning season in their last 6.
I'm sorry?
The Giants have had one winning season in their last 6.
Right.
What is your message to Giants fans right now?
Well, the message is what I've said to you before. We're going in the right direction. We had a lot of competitive games, and we're getting better, and we're going to continue to fix this.
Dave, what is Kyle's future here? Are you still as high as him as you were?
Well, we drafted him in the 4th round. He did some nice things at training camp. He did something silly in Hoboken or Fort Lee or wherever the hell it was. And Weehawken, thanks, did something silly there. He's developing. He's like anybody else. Again, I'm gonna be a little bit of a jerk here, maybe to some of you. How many of you guys wrote Pulitzer-winning articles your first year as reporters? You did not, Steve. You're lying. Pinocchio. Exactly. But you understand what I'm saying? He's a kid. I'm a kid. You're kids. We make mistakes. All right? Well, none of us are perfect. Hopefully we learn. So to answer your question, Kyle's a work in progress, just like me.
We're going to go about 5 more minutes.
Gotcha.
When you traded Snacks, I believe one of the reasons you said was so the young guys could get some valuable playing time. How would you assess what they did with that playing time?
Well, when we traded Snacks, part of the issue, when Snacks was here, he's playing the 1. We had Dalvin playing the 3, and BJ playing the 5 techniques. Well, Dalvin's a 1 technique, and BJ's a 3. So, I'm very pleased with the change. To answer your question, BJ came a long way to have, the pass rush is critical as I've stated a million times, as we all know. BJ had, I think, 5.5 sacks, so he made some progress inside. Excuse me, Dalvin did, what he does at the 1, so for us it worked out. Because and those young guys are getting snaps. The only way they're going to get better. There's a theory out there that young guys, once they get to 5,000 snaps, that's when they're really ready to rock and roll, and that includes practice and game snaps and all that. So I don't know if I subscribe to it, but I'm just throwing it out there for whatever.
Dave, you said earlier, I think, one of the things about Eli being here is on him making the best decision for the New York Giants.
I'm sorry?
I thought I heard you say on whether Eli will be here, it's on him making the best decision. No, on you. So would that decision, though, involve money? Can he have the talent to play here, but if he makes too much money, he can't be here?
Yeah, Tom, I'm not going to go down there. It's go down that road with you. Obviously, part of the, salary cap is, players are not in vacuums when it comes to that salary cap. Nobody's in a vacuum, okay? You don't say, okay, so I'm going to sign this guy. I got to sign this guy. No, wait a minute. You got to look at your cap situation. So, but I'm not going to go there on not going there.
Eli's father told ESPN the other day that if Eli wants to come back, that you guys need to win. You can't go through another season like this. As you sit behind closed doors and talk to Eli, can you guarantee to him that you will have a winning team and a good enough team for him to want to continue to play here and win?
Pat, really and truly, can anybody guarantee anything like that? Really? All you Yankee fans thought you were going to win 162 games this year. I knew better. All kidding aside, you can't guarantee that. There's no way. I wouldn't guarantee that to anybody.
Do you understand his point?
Do I understand his point? Whose point?
Archie's.
No, because Archie didn't tell me.
How do you respond to what sort of continues to be ongoing idea that you should have taken the quarterback regardless of how great Saquon and his rookie season are?
I respond to it by saying, again, you're going to take the best player available. You start reaching, you're going to get into trouble. This was us, and I'll say it again, Kim, us taking Saquon was not a referendum on the quarterbacks. It was a referendum on Saquon, on the player he is and the person he is. And if I was in that situation 100 times, I'd draft him 100 times.
Dave, when you go into this offseason with your hog mollies, you have Solder, you have Hernandez. Do you feel like the other 3 guys could be your starting line next year, or is it a big emphasis this offseason too?
Here's what I would say. First of all, don't forget Pio. Don't forget John. He went down, unfortunately in the second game. He was playing the best of anybody, So don't forget about Pio. I am always going to keep working on those lines, on those groups. You cannot have enough hog mollies. You can't. Because people get hurt. You can't have enough. So I will always, people looked at me in 13. We took defensive tackle in the first round, defensive tackle in the second round, and everybody saying, I had people saying, and maybe they're right, Gettleman has no idea what he's doing. So I'm always gonna do that.
Why is this offseason and the evaluation you need to do and the draft process and everything else different than year one for you? What is different? about this process?
I think what's different is, we've got a better understanding of what Pat and his coaching staff are looking for, because you're looking for scheme fits. Last year was not easy, guys, because we're moving to that 3-4 look, that type of 3-4 that Jimmy was, wants to, we're going to play. And there are different style players and you can't, you fit in a square hole and a round peg is, a square peg and a round hole. I knew I'd get it. Steve, be patient. But, that's part of it. We have a better understanding of what the coaches are looking for. And it makes it big. When I went to Carolina, it was a 4-3. We played a 4-3 here for years. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. And the offense is not a big deal. But it's really the defense that's different.
So it is fair to say the challenges last year were, especially on the defensive side of the ball, than they were offensive.
Exactly, and you can only trade out so many guys. You blow the whistle, 11 guys got to go out there. At least you want 11 out there. So.
We'll take a couple more. The records get attached to head coaches, obviously. Pat Shurmur's 5-11 in his first year with the Giants. Did you see any wavering in your mind that he's the right guy for this? Anything moving forward? Because like I said, his first year the record's bad.
Paul, none at all. Not at all. If anything, it reinforced my feeling about him a year ago. When we went through the interview process. It was the steadiness, it was the message, it was like I said to you, we're 1-7, and we have 2 practices during the bye week that, I just was kind of amazed. And it's, again, I don't know that, you guys may gloss it over, but I don't know that you can really appreciate, because you're there and then you're gone. You watch stretch, you watch him. So what are you guys there? 15 minutes? For cocktail and you're gone. Okay, so, but to stand there for the next hour and 40 minutes, I wish you could have seen it. And just the way he kept them, the Pat and the coaches kept everybody on task, going in the right direction, understanding that, we were, to a certain degree, maybe we were the little engine that could. We kept pushing that thing up the hill. And there's no doubt in my mind he's the right guy.
Last one.
Why did you feel the need to have an honest and, I forget what word you used, straightforward conversation with Eli when you...
Well, first, I have this crazy idea that I'm always going to be honest and straightforward, okay? So, and sometimes that gets me into trouble, but we won't go there. Eli came in and he wanted to talk. And I just have this, like I said, crazy idea that if a guy asks me questions, I'm going to be honest with him. And so it wasn't like he was called to the principal's office. He came to see me.
And why did you call him a mensch?
What's that? Because he is. He's just, the way he carries himself, who he is as a person, the way he respects the game. Is there any reason, Steve, that we call, men in your life that, they're not mensches. What a mensch is. But there's no deviousness, there's no duplicitousness, none of that stuff. He's a mensch. Someday I hope to be a mensch.
Jordan, you mentioned
the
state of the organization, the roster. 13 players only left over. Do you look at it as a rebuild, or how realistic is it that this team, is it a multi-year process you're in before you get back to being a Super Bowl contender?
Jordan, I just hate the word rebuild. You know what I mean? I don't ever want it. You just keep going. You just keep building. it's really what you're trying to, really what we're doing here. You're trying to, we're doing our best to accumulate the talent that fits our schemes and that understands how to play the game and hates to flip and lose. That's what it really is all about. And we're going to continue to, do this and get it right. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it.